Welcome to this very video. So in today's lesson we shall be looking at a new topic which says Vigile come luce gialla. You can see it here, Vigile come luce gialla. So in English this simply means a traffic light that is regulated by Vigile. You can see it here. So it's talking about traffic light, but regulated by Vigile. You can see it here. And in any junction, whenever you find a Vigile on this very position, so it simply represent yellow as traffic light. And we all know that yellow simply means it simply means stop. If you are not if you have not transited into the junction already. And at the same time it also simply means in a situation whereby you have already transited in the junction, so you have to try as much as possible to 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 free the junction as much as possible. So we have some few questions in relative to this very concept. So, and some of these questions, some are very, and while some are also false. So our major area of concentration here is to consider the reasons why some of these are very, and the reason why all these are also false. So now let's move on. So number one question, it says la posizione del vigile con un braccio alzato come figura equivale alla luce gialla fissa del semaforo. So it's simply saying that the position of vigile on this very form, it simply represents yellow light. And don't forget, so whenever you are answering any question during your exam and you find something like this simply represents luce gialla, yellow light. In the semaforo aspect, this simply represents yellow light. So, and the question says this very one, you can see the position, the vigile, this position of vigile that is here with on his hand on this very position, it says equivalent simply means equivalent. So it's equivalent to luce simply means light, gialla simply means yellow. So it's equivalent to yellow light. So, and the response to this question says vero, and it's vero because whenever you find a vigilance on this very position, this simply means what? Yellow light. Take note of that. And again, number two, it says se I vigili ha un braccio alzato come in figuro. So whenever you find a vigili on this very position, so it says bisogna liberare velocitamente incrocio. So in a situation whereby you are already in the junction, you have to try as much as possible to make sure that you free out so that other vehicles can transit. So it say già stato impegnato in a situation whereby you have already occupied the junction, you have already occupied. So you have crossed the stopping line. So you have to try as much as possible to free out the space so that other vehicle can easily transit, and so that in order to avoid an accident. So take note of that. And it says i vigili ha un braccio alzato come figura, bisogna liberare velocemente il crocio se già è stato impegnato. So you have to try as much as possible to free out the junction in a situation whereby you have already in the junction. You have crossed the stopping line. So take note of that. This is the reason why this one is vero. So and again, and another response we have that go with vero. So we have to see the reason. It says se I vigili a un braccio alzato come figura bisogna arrestarsi prima dell'incrocio. So this one is a different one. So in a situation whereby you find a vigile in this very manner, in a situation whereby you have not crossed the stopping line, so you have to stop. In this situation, you have already see the vigile on this very position, and you have not crossed the stopping line. So all you have to do is for you to stop. And it says, sei è possibile farlo senza creare pericolo. So, and you have to do this without creating any dangers. Without creating any dangers. So, take note of that. This is the reason why this one is also vero. And again, we have over five questions that go with falso. So, let us see the reason why all these ones are falso. It says, la posizione del vigile come un braccio alzato come figura è una indicazione riservata solo ai veicoli che devono sbottare. And the question says, whenever you see a vigile in this very position, it says this very one simply represents and is also for only vehicles that want to transit or that want to move to the left hand side. So, and this one is falso because it's not talking about only the vehicles that want to move. It's simply talking about, yellow sign. In a situation whereby when you are already in the junction, you have to try as much as possible to free out the junction. And in a situation whereby you are not in the junction yet, you have to stop. So he's not talking about this. So this one is falso. And again, he say se I vigili a un braccio alzato come figura bisogna ogni caso arrestarsi. So he said, whenever you see a vigile in this situation, say in all means, take note of this very word. Whenever you are doing quick, you see something like this, ogni caso. So try as much as possible to take it into proper consideration before you respond falso or vero. Ogni caso. Ogni caso simply means always, all the time. And there are two things you must note here. Take note. Number one, it says in a situation whereby you are not in the stopping line, so you have to stop. But in the other side again, if you have crossed the stopping line and you are already in the junction, that is the only means or the only way you have to what? You have to try as much as possible to free the junction. And it's saying that in always, all the time, you always have to what? Have to stop. And this very sign did not say so. So this is the reason why this one is falso. So it's not saying that you must always stop in the stopping line. No. You will only stop in a situation whereby you have not crossed the stopping line. So take note of that. And it says, se I vigili a un braccio alzato come figura è consentito soltanto sbottare a destra. Now, it says, whenever in vigile is in this form, it says you should continue to move to your right hand side. Only to your right hand side. So it says in vigile in this position only permits you to move to the right hand side. And the answer is no. Take note of this one, consentito. It permits, or it permits. And this soltanto simply means solo. Sometimes they may make use of the word solo or soltanto. So this very one simply means only. And this very sign is not saying that you are only permitted to move to the right hand side. So this one is false. It's not talking about that. So that's the reason why that one is false. So take note. So another one again says, se I vigili a un braccio alzato come figura, bisogna rilentare solo se ne incrocio vi sono binari del tram. It says whenever vigili is in this form, which is a yellow light, it says you have to slow down. if only there is a line of tram and it's fast. He's not talking about. So he's talking about a junction. He's talking about junction. So, and he's simply saying that whenever you see vigile like this, you have to stop. If only you have not crossed the stopping line yet, but in a situation you have crossed the stopping line, so you have to try as much as possible to leave the junction, so that other vehicles can transit. So take note of that. So this is the reason why this one is faster. It's not talking about the tram line. So that is that. The last question says, it says la posizione dei vigili con il braccio alzato come figura equivale alla luce rossa del semaforo. So it says the position of vigili in this very manner, it represents red light. It represents red light of what? Of traffic light. So it represents red. So we are saying that whenever vigil is in this manner, so this simply means what? Yellow. Take note of this very one. But in a situation whereby the two hands are open, so that is where we have red. So take note of this. This is the reason why this one is faster. Please endeavor to like our video, and do not